Chapter 10, When the Time Came. Prophecies. Your father prepared everything for the word of Yah to dwell among humanity and to show it the path of its restitution with sublime examples of his love. First, he inspired the prophets who announced the form in which the Messiah would come to the world, what his work would be, and his suffering and death as a man, so that those who knew the prophecies would immediately recognize Hamashiach when he appeared on earth. Centuries before my presence, through Yahusha, the prophet Isaiah said, "Therefore, the Most High will give you this sign, for behold, the virgin will conceive and give birth to a child who will be called Emmanuel, which means Elohim is with you." With this prophecy, among others, he announced my coming. Many centuries before my arrival, David, with songs filled with pain and prophetic meaning, sang of the sufferings of the Messiah during the crucifixion. In those psalms, he speaks of one of my 7 words on the cross. He announces the contempt with which the multitudes would lead me to the sacrifice, the phrases of mockery the men would use on hearing me say that the Father was in me, the solitude which my body would experience before human ingratitude, all the torments to which I would be subjected, and even the way in which they would cast lots for my clothing. Each one of my prophets came to announce my coming, to prepare paths, and to give precise signs so that no one would be confused when the day came. The waiting of the Jewish people for the Messiah. The world in this era has not known how to wait for me, as did the people of Israel in the second era. My great prophets had proclaimed a Messiah, a Savior, the Son of Yah, who would come to liberate the oppressed and enlighten the world with the light of the word. And the more the people suffered, the more they wished for the arrival of the promised one. The more they drank from the cup of humiliation and oppression, the more they yearned for the presence of the Messiah. And everywhere they searched for signs and indications that would speak of the imminent arrival of their Savior. From generation to generation, from parents to children, they passed on the divine promise that for much time made the chosen people of Yahuwah watch and pray. Finally, I arrived among my people, but not all knew how to recognize me, for although all awaited me, some did so with spirituality, and others through a materialistic interpretation. But for me sufficed the purity and love of those who felt my presence and looked at the reign of heaven in the light of my word to believe in my manifestation. I sufficed with those who followed me faithfully, and those who saw in me their spiritual Savior, for it was they who gave testimony of my truth after I left this world. Although my message was for all the peoples of the earth, I called to the hearts of the chosen people so they could become thereafter the spokesmen for my word. However, it was not that people alone who felt my presence. In other nations as well, men knew how to discover the signs of my coming and foresaw the time of my presence on the earth. Elijah appears before men in each era and in each divine revelation. The Messiah had not yet come to earth. It would not be long before he would be born as a man. Meanwhile, the spirit of the prophet had already been incarnated in John, later called the Baptist, to announce the nearness of the kingdom of heaven, which would be the presence of the divine word, the Messiah, among humanity. Mary, the earthly mother of Yahusha. From the earliest time, the patriarchs and prophets began to speak of the coming of the Messiah. However, the Messiah did not come only in spirit, but came to make himself flesh, to make himself man, and take the flesh from a woman. The divine maternal essence has to be made flesh as well, to be made woman, like a flower of purity, so that from its petals the scent, the perfume of the word of Yah, that was Yahusha, might arise. In Nazareth there lived a pure and tender flower, an unwed virgin named Mary, who was precisely the one announced by the prophet Isaiah to have the fruit of the true life sprout from her womb. Unto her came the spiritual messenger of the Most High to tell her of the mission which she brought to earth, saying to her, "Hail, you are highly favored. The Most High is with you. Blessed are you among women." The hour for the revelation of the divine mystery had come, and all that had been said about the presence of the Messiah, the Savior, the Redeemer, was about to be fulfilled. But how few were the hearts who were sensitive to my presence? How few the spirits that were prepared to recognize the kingdom of heaven in the light of my truth? The Adoration of baby Yahusha. Humanity is remembering on this day that some wise men from the east came to the manger in Bethlehem to adore the child, Elohim. Today, some hearts ask me, the Most High, is it true that those wise and powerful men bowed down to you, recognizing your divinity? Yes, my children, it was science, power, and wealth that arrived to prostrate themselves before my presence. There also were shepherds and their wives and children with humble, healthy, and simple presents, with which they received and saluted the Redeemer of the world and Mary as the symbol of celestial tenderness. They represented humility, innocence, and simplicity, but those who held in their parchments the prophecies and promises that spoke of the Messiah slept deeply without so much as a premonition of who had arrived in the world. The bond of love between Yahusha and Mary. Yahusha lived his childhood and youth beside Mary, enjoying her motherly love. Mary, the divine tenderness, offers much sweetness to the Savior in his first years of life in the world, for the hour would come when he was to drink much bitterness. How is it possible for anyone to think that Mary, who conceived Yahusha and lived with the divine master, could be lacking in spiritual elevation, in purity, and holiness? Whoever loves me will have to first love all that is mine and all that I love. The Wisdom of Yahusha. Men say in their books that Yahusha was among the Essenes seeking their knowledge, but he who knew all and who was before the world had nothing to learn from men. The divine had nothing to learn from the human. Wherever I went, I taught. Can there be anyone wiser than Elohim on the earth? Hamashiach came from the Father to bring divine wisdom to men. Did your master not give you proof of this when at 12 years of age he left theologians, philosophers, and doctors of the law of that time astonished? There are those who have attributed to Yahusha the weaknesses of all men and enjoy throwing upon the divine unstained man the mud that they carry in their own hearts. These do not know me. If all the marvels of this nature that you behold are no more than the material form of divine thoughts, do you not think that the body of Hamashiach was the materialization of a sublime thought of love from your Father? Therefore Hamashiach loves you with the spirit, not the flesh. My truth cannot be counterfeited, for it contains absolute light and force. In the second era, I gave you an example of how you should await the right hour to fulfill the mission that brought you to earth. I waited for my body, that of Yahusha, which was beheld by men, to come to its best age, to fulfill the divine mission of teaching you love through him. When that body, that heart, and that mind had come to their full development, my spirit spoke through his lips, my wisdom crossed his mind, my love rested in his heart, and the harmony between that body and the divine light that illuminated it was so perfect that many times I said to the multitudes, who knows the Son knows the Father. Hamashiach took the truth of Yah to teach it to men. He did not come to take it from the world. Not from the Greeks, the Chaldeans, the Essenes, nor the Phoenicians. From none did he come to take light. They did not know the road to heaven, and I came to show that which was not known on earth. Yahusha had consecrated his infancy and youth to charity and prayer while the time approached to proclaim the reign of heaven, the law of love and justice, and the doctrine of light and life. Seek out the essence of my word poured out in that time, and say to me if it can have come from some human doctrine or from any science then known. Truly I tell you, if I really could have found wisdom in those men, I would have sought my disciples from among them, and not from among the rough and uneducated men with whom I formed my apostolate. The incomprehension of the people of Nazareth. I had to seek refuge in the bosom of a people like the Egyptians, since the people to whom I had come did not know how to shelter me, but that was not the only pain that my heart was to feel. When I returned from Egypt to live in Nazareth, at each step I was ridiculed and wounded by their phrases of unbelief and envy. Although I performed miracles and manifested my power and charity among the people of Nazareth, they rejected me. No one believed in me, including those who had closely known my life and my deeds. Thus, when it was time for me to begin my ministry, I told the people of Nazareth prior to my departure, truly I tell you that there is no prophet who will be believed in his own country. Therefore, it is necessary for him to go elsewhere in order for his words to be heard. My peace be with you.